As you continue on this journey to understand your true mastery, to manifest anything that you want, you have to really understand your creative nature. You have to understand that everything that you do or don't do creates a result. So even if you feel conscious on the journey of creation and you are mindfully, intentionally creating things that you want, you have to recognize that sometimes when you don't do things, you are still creating something. So it's important that you are mindful throughout every step of your journey, throughout every moment, that in that moment, there is a seed being planted of creating some kind of result. So whether or not you decide to intentionally create something or you decide to do nothing, still something will be created as a result of that. So recognize that as you go through life and you tap into your creative potential and you rediscover your mastery over manifestation, you recognize that in order to unleash this power, you have to understand the things that are holding you back. You have to understand the things that are keeping you leashed and tethered to resist, or tethered from allowing you to really express and be your true self, right? Live into your true self and express your true self and create everything that you are inspired by, everything that you realize or you come to a inspired realization or thought. You take that and you actually push it forward to create it. Because remember, everything that you are inspired with, an idea, a concept, if you are inspired with it, that means you are able and you are the one chosen to create it. So never disregard an idea that has come to your mind that you feel is something that's needed in the world, something that you just simply are curious to do. You should definitely go 100% at investigating, researching, and figuring out how to achieve it, how to make it happen, because that thing is tied to your consciousness. That thing is your consciousness communicating to you in all aspects and all layers of yourself to actually pursue this, because it will help in the unfoldment and the realization of you being the creator of your universe. Now, it is the ego, though, that usually is pulling you back, because we are identifying too much with all of the negative ideas, the negative programming, the negative habits, the things that our parents told us that wasn't really fortifying our own security or understanding of ourselves, the things that society is constantly telling us and putting in our face that we may not be good enough, or that we don't have what it takes, and that this person is special. That's why they were able to create the life that they want, and you don't, right? And you can't. And what's important for you to recognize is that all of these things are simply the negative and the programmings that has been planted in your ego, in your subconscious mind, to essentially stop you from doing it. But it is your responsibility to accept it as so. It is your responsibility to look at it, to evaluate it, to analyze it, and say to yourself, is this really practical? Is this really in alignment with what my true self wants? What my consciousness wants? Because consciousness is truly who you are. Because everything that you think about, everything that is inspired upon you, especially those things that feel good, those things that motivate you, those things that make you feel a sense of euphoria, are things tied to your consciousness. It is your consciousness trying to communicate and motivate you to actually fall into place with what would align with your overall fulfillment and happiness. But oftentimes we disregard that because of the programmings of the ego, which has created this identity which you identify with so much. All of the negative, all of the unproductive, all of the bad things, right? The dark sides of you, the inadequacies, the insecurities. You have to recognize that those things are not real, that those things were something that was handed down to you, that was programmed within you. And once you recognize that, then you can begin to break the leash, right? You can begin to let go of these unfortunate concepts and ideas that you're not good enough, when in fact you are everything. You are more than good enough. So once you recognize that these unproductive emotions, these unproductive feelings, these unproductive thoughts about who you are don't serve you, then you can listen to the consciousness. You can follow along with what the consciousness is guiding you to do, because it is your consciousness that is the part of you that is truly, purely God, and has the intention of making you realize who you truly are. So though when I talk about the ego, and I say that the ego has its place, it has its place in creating your identity, it has its place in the game of life that we're here to play, you have to recognize that the ego, when it's not managed, when it's not acknowledged for what its purpose is, that's when the ego is the most dangerous to us. And so as you think about all these old programmings, all these thoughts, all these patterns that were given to us, that was told upon us, that was cursed upon us, and you analyze them and you recognize that they aren't you, they are just simply shadows of generations before, shadows of negative thoughts or misunderstandings or really ignorance as to who you truly are, as to who we all truly are, then you can push those things aside and simply listen to the consciousness as it is pushing you, as it is inspiring you, as it is motivating you, as it is pulling you really to come to the realization of truth. So you have to let go of this leash and unleash yourself and unleash the creative potential that is within you in order for you to come into the realization. So manifestation, though it is recognized as something to create something, right? To create something material, to materialize, to manifest in this physical realm, recognize that there is more to it than that. Manifestation is truly the affirmation of you being the creator of your universe. It is the evidence that you can create anything that you want. So recognize that though at this moment you may not be materializing the things that you want every step of the way, but you are most certainly materializing something. You are most certainly manifesting something. Now it's your job to take ownership of this fact, take ownership of this truth and say, hey, I know that whatever I do or don't do creates a result. That is me being the creator of my reality, whether I want to or not. So once you own that and once you recognize that and take ownership of that statement and recognize the truth in that for you, then everything that you do is simply about you enjoying this process of coming into your ownership, coming into who you are. So once you recognize that everything that you do and don't do still creates results, thus really saying that everything that you do is going to create something. So the question is, what do you want to create? The question is, how do you break down this process of creation? What are the things that you want? Recognize that everything that you want is possible. It's only up to you. The possibilities only stop when you let the ego and all of the negative programming interfere and tell you otherwise. But you must come into realization that the ego isn't real. It's just simply a product that is there to anchor us in this reality, in this game. Now, though the ego has its place, so I guess in a sense you can say it is real, but the things that the ego is feeding you though isn't real. You see, so don't identify what the things that the mismanaged ego is feeding you, because those things aren't real. You have to recognize that those things are just part of the game. Those things are just part of learning how to listen to one thing over the other, learning how to choose consciousness over insecurity, right? Over the darkness, over the shadow side of you. So what are you going to choose? Right? It makes sense. You're going to choose consciousness, but you have to actually put that into practice and actually make it so. Thank you so much. Continue to join me on this journey. Feel free to visit drabundant.com. Peace and abundance always.